Hi, folks, and I am so thrilled to welcome in our next guest. Always a pleasure to talk to him. Dr. Ben Carson, former chief of Pediatric Neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins University Hospital Children's Center, and also runs the Carson Scholarship Fund, which you could find at www.carsonscholars.org. Hello, doctor.
Good morning or good afternoon.
Yeah, whatever. Depends where someone is. Great to talk to you again. I want to start with something, and it's unfortunate, and you know that we have to start with this, but it's always out there, and you're so well aware of it, and you handle it so well. I'm going through my notes, and someone put in there the column by a guy named Joshua Dubois. He writes for the Daily Beast, and the headline is, Ben Carson was a role model for black teens until he sold out to the right. And he talks about how he got into a fight in school, and then he read the book with you on the cover, and he was inspired, and he ends his piece by saying, before our eyes, he's trading in the lasting significance of his impact on the world for whatever small reward is offered to him by CPAC, Fox News, or whatever Tea Party figure applauds him next. And we, the Carson boys, who met him years ago in our low moments and who he helped in ways small or large, can only watch in horror. For us, Dr. Ben Carson's story has become an American tragedy. Crazy stuff.
Well, you know, unfortunately, there are a group of people who thrive on victimhood. And, you know, when someone like myself comes along and says, you're not a victim, the person who has the most to do with what happens to you in life is you. They say, what? What are you talking about? You know, I'm talking about empowerment. And, you know, particularly when you're looking at people in the minority community, you know, what has 3, 4, 5 decades of, you know, so-called liberal generosity done for them? I mean, we now have the highest out-of-wedlock birth rates that we've ever had. People moving more into poverty, more into dependency. What I'd like to see is people start concentrating on self-reliance. And what do you do? How do we give people the basis for success in our society? It starts with a good education. It's one of the reasons that I encourage people, everybody, to spend a half an hour each day learning something new. Because the more you know, the more valuable you become. If you do that for half an hour every day, history, physics, biology, whatever, just learn something new, people will be astonished in a year at how much you know. And a person who is extremely knowledgeable is a formidable foe for falsehood and a formidable ally for truth. And that's what we must get back to. When people actually know, then they understand who really is their friend.
Well, why I'm sorry, but why the pushback, doctor? Why the pushback from such a, you know, a certain segment of the African American community, do you think? And not only against you, but against other, you know, successful conservative blacks.
Because if people begin to think for themselves and begin to analyze the facts and see where certain types of behavior lead, then, you know, they won't be willing followers. People need followers. They need empowerment. They need voting blocks. They don't need people thinking for themselves and actually accomplishing in life.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I want to get something else out of the way before I move on to Obamacare, and then an amazing statement made today by John Kerry, which I'd love you to weigh in on. Your Nazi Germany analogy getting a lot of play and criticism as well. Could you explain exactly what you meant by that?
Yeah, basically what I said is, I said most of the people in Nazi Germany did not believe in what Hitler was doing. But did they say anything? Did they open their mouths? No, they did not. And by failing to do so, they allowed the progression of this incredible travesty upon mankind. And I said, that does not have to be unique to Nazi Germany. That can happen anywhere. And that's why it's so important for people to open their mouths, to speak up for what they believe in. If you don't do that, then the other side wins by default.
Right.
And a wise man once said, the only thing needed for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.
And you mean that when you talk about us in the United States today, you mean that people, if they feel that way, should speak up against what the trampling of the Constitution by the president, for instance?
Right, because people just sort of go along to get along. Maybe if I don't say anything, I won't be audited, or people won't call me a name, or But how silly is that when you stop and you think about what people sacrificed in order to bring the kind of freedom that this country has had, the unprecedented freedom. And then we're afraid that somebody will call us a name? This is unbelievable.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. All right. There's a survey out there today, doctor, that 1/3 of uninsureds do not plan to buy insurance despite the Obamacare deadline. Kathleen Sebelius said just the other day, last week, when asked how many people of those who have signed up have actually made a premium payment. And she said, we don't know. We don't have that information because they don't pay us. So the numbers that they put forth as those who have signed up are ridiculously meaningless, because if you don't know how many people actually paid to have the insurance, then what good are the numbers?
Wouldn't it make a whole lot more sense if we were going to change the health system to have something that people were clamoring to get rather than something that people are running away from, are being forced at every turn to go to, that are being manipulated into? Does that make any sense in a free country? Why didn't we have an open discussion and entertain some excellent ideas? I've seen so many great ideas. I've got some great ideas that would make healthcare available to everybody at much less cost, and put the healthcare back in the hands of the people themselves. Some very well-known radical individuals in the past, and anybody can read about this, have said for the United States to come under the umbrella of the kind of society that they saw as utopian, it would be necessary to make the population dependent. And the best way to do that is for the government to control health care,
yeah,
the most important thing that they have.
And you're talking about the radical left, and Ronald Reagan alluded to what he called socialized medicine in a very famous speech given while he was still governor of California, warning about this.
Yeah, it's out there. It's out there for anybody to read. Nobody has to be deceived about this stuff, and nobody needs to fail to understand that there are agendas here to change fundamentally this nation from the great independent nation that it was to this utopian society that has never worked for anyone.
And you believe that that's Obama's goal?
Well, whether he's an active part of it or whether he's being utilized, I don't know. But it certainly is pointing in the same direction.
All right, I want to play. Can we play cut 30 real quick here? I want you to turn up the volume because it's hard to hear. But here's John Kerry.
Of Ukraine. We hope President Putin will recognize that none of what we're saying is meant as a threat. It's not meant as a